All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. So now that Maryland's basketball season has come to an end, you can expect the conversation about the status of current Terrapins head basketball coach Kevin Willard to heat up. Now, Willard in recent days has been very coy about his responses, but there's talks that Villanova wants him to lead their basketball program after they recently fired head coach Kyle Neptune. But would or should Willard leave Maryland to take the Villanova job? Now, if you read the writing on the wall, and that is basically the statements that Willard has been giving out during his press conferences, he sounds like somebody who is not necessarily happy right now in College Park. You've heard about issues with the school's basketball budget. And for me, the bigger thing is when it comes to this is everybody on the same page, and I'm talking about Kevin Willard, the school's athletic department, and the school administration. Okay, recently we saw Damon Evans, the athletic director who hired Kevin Willard at Maryland, leave to take the same job at SMU. And of course, when the guy that hired you is gone, that's one reason. Do you really want to stay around and work with another administration? I'm just throwing it out there, okay? Now, some Terrapins fans have already turned on Willard. We saw him get an icy reception last night when Maryland was leaving their team hotel in the Bay Area to go to take on Florida in at the Chase Center in San Francisco. And again, like I said before, how bad does Willard want to stay in College Park at this point? Now, you look at it, and Willard is on the cusp of building something at Maryland. He just finished up his third season with the Terps. So far, his record is 65 and 39 overall. He's 32 and 28 in the Big Ten. And of course, Maryland under Willard just had their best season in the Big Ten since 2020 as they went 14 and 6. We saw the Terrapins earn a 4 seed in this NCAA tournament, their highest seeding in the tournament since 2015. And you look at it, he's been there 3 years, and this team has improved. They're starting to get quality recruits from the DMV, and they're showing that they can hang with the big boys of the Big Ten Conference. All right. So at this point, clearly the ball, no pun intended, is in the court of Kevin Willard. And of course, all questions are going to be what does he want to do? Or is he simply merely calling Maryland's bluff? Or is he out the door and heading to Philadelphia to become the next basketball coach at Villanova? I don't think that Kevin Willard is calling Maryland's bluff. It's one of those where, listen, he's basically saying, if you guys want this program to be where you want it to be, there has to be improvements. There has to be more of a commitment from the administration standpoint. I know that, some Maryland fans, some okay, are not thinking highly of Kevin Willard at the current moment, and I totally get it. You look at a school, you look at a team that was in the midst of a tournament run, and all of this is coming out. And of course, we saw it recently with Will Wade talking about leaving McNeese State to go to NC State, and he was straight up honest about it. And it's one of those where I know you can say what you want, the timing still was not great by Will Wade. At least he was honest about it. And when you're at McNeese State, you're kind of expected after a tournament run, especially a guy who has had success at a bigger school previously. You know what? To try to go back and take that next step up again. Excuse me. But in the case of Kevin Willard, it was like some folks there, and rightfully so. They're like, wait a minute, um, you're here, and are you committed or are you not committed? And of course, if you're listening to this Kevin Willard banter and you're a Seton Hall alum or you're a Seton Hall fan, you're kind of like, well, hey, you know what? We heard this before because he got Seton Hall to the tournament back in 2022. They lost their first round game, and Kevin Willard was basically out of the door already en route to College Park. So I think, again, I really don't think it's simply Kevin Willard calling Maryland's bluff. He knows that if he wants the Villanova job at this point, it sounds like it's his. And I'm sure that the Villanova alum and the Villanova administration are going to give him a sweetheart of a deal to leave Maryland. It's one of those you figure we've seen Villanova since 2016 win a pair of national championships. We've seen them get to three Final Fours. Of course, they did not have that success in the last 3 years when Kyle Neptune took over for Jay Wright. Just to give you an idea, in Jay Wright's last year in 2022, the Wildcats went 30-8 and they got to the Final Four. Since then, Villanova has not had one season where they won at least 20 games and also zero tournament appearances. So the Wildcats definitely don't want to get lost in the shuffle. They definitely do not want to get lost in the shuffle in the Big East. And it's one of those where I do feel that Kevin Willard is the guy for them that they have their sights set on because, like I said, they don't want to get lost in the shuffle in the Big East. They know that Kevin Willard knows the Big East. First and foremost, from his coaching time, he spent more than 10 years at Seton Hall. And then, of course, once upon a time, I do believe his dad was the head coach at Pitt. Nonetheless, it's going to be a very interesting scenario for the next couple of days. But I'll tell you like this, Maryland, and this is just my opinion, I think at some point, maybe not the administration, but maybe some of the people around the program are going to get tired of it and they want to know whether or not that Kevin Willard is going to be committed to the program. This is not going to go away and it's not going to be pretty. Most divorces are not pretty. Okay. And it's one of those where you got a situation right here. The current, spouse, if you will, in Maryland wants you, but Kevin Willard wants them to make him feel appreciated. And of course, you've got this other person out there in Villanova that is more than willing to make Kevin Willard feel appreciated. Now, if Villanova is making Kevin Willard feel appreciated, is it going to be enough to get Maryland to step up and make Kevin Willard so happy that he just says, you know what, thanks, but no thanks? Or is he out the door, or does he already have one foot out the door? I'll tell you like this. If Kevin Willard were to leave Maryland, and I do think it's a possibility, all right, my question is this. How would it sit with the Big Ten for them to lose one of their basketball coaches to the Big East? And at no slight to the Big East. The Big East is still a darn good conference. Since 2016, no basketball conference in the nation has won more national championships than the Big East. Okay, but if you're the Big Ten, with the exception of the SEC, you frown your noses down on everybody else when it comes to football and basketball. Okay, and you're the creme de la creme of conferences. It's one of the top power conferences, you name it. And it usually works the other way around. You're getting a guy from the Big East, not having somebody leave from your fray to go to the Big East. So I'm just interested to see how that's going to sit with the Big Ten Conference. But you look at this, you're already hearing rumors about Buzz Williams possibly having his sights on the Maryland job. And of course, for the flack that some people are giving Kevin Willard, I'll tell you what, Buzz Williams is another guy who has never seen an opportunity that he didn't like. Once upon a time, he kept the Marquette basketball program going after Tom Crean left. Okay. And then from there, it looked like on the surface he was going to be a lifer there. But then he left for Virginia Tech, and his excuse was, hey, you know what? he saw the demise of the basketball, the non-football schools, and he wanted to go to a football conference. Was having success at Virginia Tech before, you know what? Texas A&M came with a bag of money, and he said, you know what? Adios Blacksburg, hello College Station. And again, he has made Texas A&M one of the top programs in a very tough Southeastern Conference. And now he might be exiting stage right and heading to the Big Ten Conference. Just got to wait and see. But nonetheless, um, the ball is in Kevin Willard's court. And the thing is, I know that players get a lot of flack for the transfer portal. I don't feel like enough is given to coaches at the same time because some of these coaches are, they're with a team and they're already working on a deal to go someplace else. There's no loyalty in sports. Sports is a business just like any other. And at the end of the day, you might give somebody a good opportunity at this moment, but a few years from now, or even a year from now, somebody might give them a better opportunity. And again, at this point in collegiate athletics, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, whatever, especially the top money generating sports in football and basketball, everybody has to be on the same page. Coach, GM, because because it's a business now, okay? And a lot of these schools are incorporating general managers, okay? The AD, the school president, the alums, the boosters, and especially you have to have your NILs up to par. And at the end of the day, if you want the top coaches and you don't have your NILs on point, guess what? They're not going to stay there. Okay, so again, it has to be a very good working relationship. It has to be a very good working marriage. And if everybody's not on the same page, it's not going to work. And again, like I said, if you read the writing on the wall, Kevin Willard just sounds like a guy that is frustrated with the administration at Maryland. I could be totally wrong on that, but that's the way I perceive it. All right. But nonetheless, Villanova would welcome him with open arms because they want to keep up with the Joneses in the Big East Conference. And with that said, just for the sake of argument, if Kevin Willard does go to Villanova, I know people there or some people there are probably expecting it to be uh, a new Jay Wright type situation for the Wildcats. Well, I got news for you. It took Jay Wright some time to turn Villanova into what he turned them into. It wasn't until Jay Wright's fourth year, at Villanova that he got them to the NCAA tournament. Now, don't get me wrong. From that point on, the Wildcats were a perennial NCAA tournament team, but it wasn't until, the original Big East split that then Villanova really took that next step. And, we saw them become what they did. Now, one thing that would work in Kevin Willard's favor is, for the most part, he has always recruited the Northeast, whether it was Seton Hall or, of course, now Maryland. And especially at Maryland, he has been recruiting the DMV. And of course, if you're Villanova, outside of getting the Philly kids, the DMV has been a backbone for you. You just look at those last couple of championship teams that they had with Jay Wright. They had some key players, such as Josh Hart, come out of the DMV and be impact players for them on those title teams. But nonetheless, this Kevin Willard saga, I think it's going to end sooner rather than later. And the reason why I say it, I don't see it dragging out any later than mid next week. And the reason is Maryland's going to want an answer, and you can't, have your head in the sand on this. Villanova is definitely in on him. Villanova wants an answer too. And if you're Villanova, I mean, at this point, if you don't get Kevin Willard, who do you get? I mean, you heard the possibility of Richard Pitino leaving New Mexico to go there, and I thought it was going to happen from the initial reports, but then he pivoted and went to Xavier. Okay, you had Martelli, who was at Bryant, and I thought he would have been a logical, uh, replacement at uh, at Villanova, and he took that job in the A10 at VCU, replacing Ryan Odom, and of course, Ryan Odom could have been a guy for them, but of course, he went to Virginia, and at the end of the day. Virginia, I assumed, had more money to throw at him than a Villanova. So again, at this point, if you're Villanova, you're basically all in on on Kevin Willard, and I'm curious to see if he decides to stay at Maryland. What is your plan B? Sounds like Maryland already does have a plan B to replace Kevin Willard should he leave. And Buzz Williams wouldn't be a bad fallback. Trust me, Buzz will win at Maryland. Make no mistake about it. But at the end of the day, um, everybody's got to be on the same page. And Maryland's a place where when everybody's on the same page, it's a special place to win. Granted, Maryland has not had that consistent winning since the days of Gary Williams when they were in the ACC. I thought Maryland was perfect for the Atlantic Coast Conference. It was a money situation, which is why they left to go to the Big Ten Conference. But nonetheless, you've got to have somebody that wants to be there. Okay, and at the same time, if you're a coach, you want to be some place where you are wanted. So like I said before, it's going to be interesting to see how things end for Kevin Willard. But I'll tell you like this: don't turn that dial, because I think things in the next couple of days are definitely going to be interesting. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'd be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off. I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.